What's going on, Belle Fleurs? Gwen the Recovering Witch here. If you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. So glad that you found my video and thought this would be an interesting topic. And for returning subscribers, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate you stopping in and following along with me while I am doing Wedin, which is Witching Every Day in November. That was started by Miss Ember Honey Raven. So this is like the third take, guys. It's never perfect the first time, even though I wish it would. But anyway, I did talk about, and it was mentioned by my new friend Sylvie. She was interested to know how I read my tarot cards after I made the statement that I read mine a little differently. So as you can see, I already have cards pulled out. I am using my Crow Tarot deck, which is created by Miss MJ Cullinane. I think I'm saying her last name right. But this is the second tarot card deck that I purchased for myself. It just called to me, and I had to take it home with me, and I'm so glad I did, because this deck, her art is beautiful, and I really resonated with the art on this, and I've really bonded with this deck along with my Game of Thrones tarot card deck. I do have other tarot cards with different art, but I'm still building that connection with them. But I feel more pulled by this one specifically and Game of Thrones. The other ones, I feel like they have been in my possession for some time, especially even with my the Influence of the Angels deck. That was the first deck that I purchased. I kind of felt like I needed it for that time, and eventually I may just get back to it. But I feel like cards will call to you when when you are ready, when you're ready to take that next step, and they speak to you in a different way. So I think right now I'm in the place where the Game of Thrones tarot or the Crow tarot deck, because the way that I have that bond with them specifically, they do speak to me a little bit more versus my other ones now. So when I started this video, I just kind of went in explaining, like what I see in the cards, and I was like, I really need to start from the very beginning. And there were a couple things that came to mind. So with this Wedin challenge, Witching Every Day in November, I feel that it has really given me the privilege and the opportunity to really learn more about myself, and learning about my rhyme and reason, and me being my authentic self, and what I practice, using my intuition, working with George, and really building on those relationships that makes me. And it's not comparing ourselves to, or myself in general, to someone else, and what they practice and what they do, which I kind of feel like it really ends up making it more of a cluster in your brain, and then at some point you get frustrated and you just may want to pick it up later, or you just don't go back to it at all. So I'm really glad that I am kind of the stubborn one, and when I don't get something, I keep working at it, and I have. So there have been times where I've been unsure with myself, or if my intuition is off or something, and yeah, but I just kind of like let go, let all the thoughts that I have leave, and make room for a higher message and a higher being to come in, which typically George is the higher being that helps. And he helps me read for myself and for friends, or for anyone who has paid for a reading with me. So if you'd like a reading, I do have my email up on my about info, and you can get in contact with me, and we can set something up. And I also do readings occasionally at the Awakening Spirit Houston. That is off of Clay. And yeah, so I think I'll dive right in. But yes, intuition is a very big part of it. And I have not been, well, I guess I want to call it classically trained in reading tarot. It's been very intuitive to me. I've never resonated with the traditional Rider-Waite deck. I always go for the art that speaks to me. And I think if you have seen my videos as far as my tour of my tarot cards, that's what I have. I mean, I have like the tarot for the last video that I did. Sorry guys, you just gonna see my pretty tattoo. But I was referring to this one that I use for my ritual or spell casting when I call on inspiration from the cards that I have there. And they are pretty similar to the traditional Rider-Waite tarot card decks. So I already have the cards pulled out, and people want to know what feels right. Do you shuffle? Do you pull the cards from the top, from the bottom? Personally, for me, I pull out the jumpers. I feel like it's a slap on my hand when George tells me, hey, this is the card that needs to come out. When I do general readings, you're not going to see it here on the side. I'm just kind of doing like a simple. I always do 3-card pulls. There are Celtic cross readings. There's so many readings and intricate readings that you could do. Personally, for me right now, they are good to know and they're good to learn, but this is what feels comfortable for me at the moment. And the readings have always been spot on for myself, for other people. But that is not to say if I do need to pull more cards, I totally can. I just need to make sure that I am asking a question so I can get the appropriate card for that question, okay? So as you can see here, the first card that ironically that jumped out was the Fool. And from what I've read in books or what I have seen from other tarot card readers, there is the emphasis on the major arcana cards because there's 21 of them out of the 78. Okay, out of the 78 decks, out of the 78 cards, you know, the chances are you might not get a major arcana card if you read them that way. All right. So I always pay attention to the major arcana or arcana and when they come up. And so how I can read them is past, present, future, morning, noon, night. I can also read this as the beginning of the week, the middle of the week, and the end of the week. All right. So again, you can use this format for any particular question also, being like, what's my current situation? What am I being, what is the action that I'm called to take? All right. And then asking for the outcome. What does the outcome look like? You can tailor a 3-card spread however you want to do. Again, it's just the most important thing is asking the question to your card, okay? And be real specific about it. So I did talk about how the art speaks to me. And so typically what I pay attention to is what it looks like in the scene. What does this card make me feel? And also I do have some of that training as far as reading from the book, the interpretation from the creator. So the Fool, you have seen the Fool depicted as a man. He looks like he's about to jump off a ledge of a cliff, but he looks happy about it. You know, he's like, hey, I've got this, you know, and faith is going to carry me. And that's kind of the same thing with this card. You see a crow on the log. It's going down a stream that seems steady, but if you look at the colors on the top, you see that there's a transition of a peaking of a light and then it goes into the dark. It means that there might be stormy waters ahead, but you know what? He's facing forward and he's like, you know what? I'm going to get this. One other thing while I was recording earlier, and I just noticed this, but around this leaf or what could be depicted as a feather, back here it's a little white in color and it's got cracks in it. And I thought maybe MJ, I'm talking about her like if we're close buddies, but hey. I thought that maybe this was like a full moon that was peeking through the clouds, or maybe the sun shining the light, potentially. It could be from the transition of light and dark, regardless how you look at it. But again, this card does talk about going on a new journey, a leap of faith, and there is a transition coming. So, depending how you read the card, all right? So, then next I have the Ace of Wands. And when I look at the Ace of Wands, I see a city in the background. You see the pavement of gold here. And it looks like it really is going into a new path, like a new journey again. So, however you're reading it, could be past and present. You see how she had depicted a few feathers. Of course, granted, I think when we all have been on a new journey or learned something new about ourselves, we have lost a couple feathers along the way. And I found it interesting. I don't know if that was her intention, but this does look like water, like an ocean. And kind of like getting through the other side of that. But the way that the cards look at each other, how the crows look, it's almost like the crow is looking back of, how hopeful that the new future, the new beginning looked as the Fool. And then the Ace of Wands, he's kind of like, I've mastered, I made through the journey, and I'm ready for the next step. So it's very hopeful. And then again, you still kind of see like the sun kind of like going out from the skyline. So, yeah. So I thought that's kind of how I'm reading with that. So then this is like the future card, right? So, or however you're interpreting the ending of the reading. So this is the Knight of Cups. You see that the knight is not riding on the bird, but alongside the bird, like he's mastered something. What comes before the knight is the page. The page is typically the young learner. And you see the fish in the background, and fish to me reminds me of prosperity. The saying that if you teach a man to fish, he'll be fine. He'll eat the rest of his life. And so obviously it's a fish, plenty of fish, not the dating app guys. Um, but yeah, that's how I interpret this card, depending on what the question is asked. This now could also mean, depending if George is telling me in my ear, that this could be a man coming into the life of someone, maybe leaving a past relationship, and maybe it was rough waters ahead, but no, breakup was for the better, because the bird is singular. But I really do kind of feel like for this just being like a general reading, I think this is probably a lot of the characteristics of the main person, unless they had a love question that they wanted to know. So again, I think this was someone going on a journey, and again, they were ready for the next step. It was definitely a new beginning that was prosperous, and then it ends up being prosperous at the very end. So the other thing that I do is I add oracle cards to my tarot, and I use the Energy Oracle, and that is by Sandra Ann Taylor. I'm going to show you the book. Okay. And this like blew my mind when I started doing this. The Energy Oracle decks, I feel that they add more to the story. Okay. It's kind of like, yes, you have a transition in pictures, but once you see everything, it kind of makes sense. And you're just kind of using what your intuition is telling you and by what you know. So when we go back to the Fool card, you see the 7th chakra archangel Uriel, and you see the purple in color. Obviously, it's the crown, opening up the channel and getting the divine message. It's still about the intuition here. Okay. And all my card readings, I know these came out all upright. I do read reversals, guys. Again, that's up to you and your reading style. For me specifically, I read them in reversal because they do set a clear picture. All right. And then the energy cards, they really kind of depict the rest of it, like what the person needs, what they need to do, the action they need to take. So with this was kind of like reaffirming that this person having faith, using the intuition of I'm going to be okay regardless. They opened up their mind to that idea that I am going to be successful in something divine, meaning the Archangel Uriel is guiding me. Okay. So there we are with that. And again, you can really elaborate more with this. And another thing that has come up when I am reading for other people and friends have asked me is, do I read out of the books? Yes, there are times I read out of the books. Sometimes I have to, because I do get prompted by George to tell me, hey, there is a specific statement in this book that you need to read to get this message across. This is what the person needs to hear. One time I did have a reading and I read specifically out of the book, and at the end the lady said, hey, this is the message, this is exactly the message I was looking for and I needed to hear. Okay, so you might get some clients who do ask you for that service, and you know, it doesn't mean that you are not skilled. Okay, you are pretty in tune with your cards, but sometimes you do need a little help. I mean, again, there are 78 cards in there. If you're throwing something else in the mix, of course you might have to use your references. At least you're using your references and not trying to BS your way around it, trying to you know, get kind of caught up in the, oh crap, like I don't really know, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my book. I think a person appreciates that more versus just kind of throwing a random answer and spirit goes out the window and is like, oh no. But anyway, there are times where George does tell me to go for the book because there's something that he's not given me, and then that's the only answer he gives. He's like, hey, read it out of the book. So I do. So as you can see, the second card was Ace of Wands. And then we have the World. And I mean, if you look at it, like the bird here at the top was really looking at a new journey. There's a new, he's looking at the skyline. And then you see the World here, and there's this person that's looking at it and being like, there's so much potential. It is within reach and it is upright. So, again, this is just affirming that there is a new journey, a whole new world from Aladdin that's about to begin. And yeah, it's basically, it is for you. As you can see, him singular, him or her, and yeah, and just ready to go on the next adventure. So the world awaits. All right, so here we go with the last card. We have the Knight of Cups. All right, so this saying maybe being a future card, just as an example, I had pulled card number 35, and this is Archangel Michael, the first chakra. Oh, like he's real steamy, like he's like on those romance novels. He's pretty sexy. So I did pull this one in reverse, and to me, what it looks like when I read this person is going to be very successful, but here is the action. Okay, and this kind of comes as a warning, is that there might be a time where the person does not pay attention to their gut, meaning more so like being grounded, being really rooted down. What I mean by that is that the person might be doing so well and literally flying. Okay, you see that, hey, I can just go along with the horse, I'm skating this. This might misalign in the future where the person might not, they might lose their footing because he is in reverse. And so I do want to read that out of 35. Again, I don't really know all that is in the book. George will tell me. But this card does talk about stability and security if it is upright. And I did talk about this in this card. But this prompts me, or George would prompt me to be like, hey, if it's in reverse, there's something going on. This talks about the first chakra, which is located at the base of the spine. And this is your sense of stability and security is stored. Okay. When the card shows up in reverse position, you may be facing some significant challenges and even some very difficult emotions. And the energy in your first chakra may be blocked, revealing potential fears about your safety, feelings of insecurity, or even depression. So again, this could be like the goal, all right? And then this is the person's fear, that's what's stopping them from not achieving that could potentially not lead them to being the Knight of Cups. So we did talk about cups being the feelings because it is a water. And again, it's all associated with depression, worry, fear, the sense of instability, losing that sense of security. So you want to move them upright is what it is. So I do love these cards because even at the end of the Energy Oracle, they do have affirmations. They give both explanation for the upright and then also for the reversal. And the card gives you the direction, and it says, meditate on the affirmation below and feel your sense of safety and balance return. So at any point that if the person is feeling unsettled, they need to remember that they need to reach out for Archangel Michael for help and help them get grounded and getting in that healthy state. And it says, my first chakra is open to its perfect healthy state. I am strong, stable, safe, and secure, and the Archangel Michael guides and supports me always. Okay, so the third thing that I add when I do a reading is I always like to do a wisdom message, like an overall wisdom message. So I use, it depends, it's kind of what I'm feeling for the time or what George tells me to do. And he says, you know, hey, Vintage Wisdom Oracle, I highly recommend this deck. I love this deck and the art is just beautiful. So if you do like the vintage, it's great. The descriptions are beautiful for each card. They don't have like, I'll show you guys, but with the way that the Energy Oracle cards are designed, I did tell you there is a definition for upright and reversed, okay? And so then it has the affirmation. Well, this one, it just gives an explanation for the card. It does say you can read these in reverse, which I do sometimes. It just depends on the day. But it kind of gives like the forefront of check your feelings, what feels right to you. And some of them can be super long or super short. But it gives the background of everything about what is depicted in the image. And again, I open my card deck and that's the first one that comes out. So let's say that, because nothing happens by accident. Again, it's the New Beginnings card. And so new beginnings, talking about the new journey. This is just really giving the affirmation at the end and giving the wisdom for the querent who is asking the question about their reading. And so when I pull the New Beginnings card, I'll read to you guys what it says. The card indicates you may be about to enter a new phase of life. Unlike the card of transition, the mood of new beginnings is a joyful expectancy, heralding an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and start fresh. The supportive, nurturing energy of this card helps transcend old habits or ways of relating which have been holding you back. A new beginning is not necessarily radical. Sometimes a series of subtle changes bring about the most lasting and miraculous benefits. Perhaps you've been working toward new beginnings, such as relocation or a career change. So yeah, you see why I love using these cards. It happens that way. Okay. But restrictions have hindered your progress. So the restrictions we talked about, or what they could potentially come up. Again, the feeling of insecurity. So know that the seeds of change have already been sown in readiness for your intention to manifest ideas and turn your aspirations into realities. So knowing that you have planted the seed, you have made a stable foundation for your security, just let the fear go and embrace your new beginnings. Okay, I just love how it's depicted with the baby, and it's like, hey, I'm taking the idea or the new journey and I'm going, and kind of the way that she's represented, kind of looking down at the past, you know, like, hey, I have really come a long way. So guys, that is how I read my cards. I again, for readings that are with me when I read out in public, or if they are paid readings, they are a little bit longer, but that is kind of the format that I follow. Sometimes I will ask, as I mentioned before, if there are specific questions. The cards really do line up with the question that was asked, and to give a specific answer. So again, you just do what feels right to you. This is a format that has worked for me, and I think I will continue to do it. You make the readings at your own that you identify with, and I try to keep things simple. I try not to overcomplicate things, and I kind of feel like because there is so much that we can learn, and there's so much of a wealth of information out there, it is good to know. However, sometimes it can be very overwhelming, and sometimes we just need to breathe, take a step back, and go back to the basics and keep it simple and works with what's best for you and not comparing as to how another person does it. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this. Again, use what you got. If you do have Oracle decks and you want to incorporate them, yes, you can do that. And the way that I learned was actually, I'm going to go ahead and put her information down there. But her name was the Gem Goddess. And she does readings more intricate with different tarot card decks that she incorporates. And it was something that clicked for me. And so I wanted to learn how to do it and try. So anyways, guys, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Hit the like button, subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell. I wish I had a bell, but I don't have one right now. So that way you can get notifications as to when new videos are uploaded. So until next time, guys, peace, love, and light to you, because you can't find the light without the dark. And bye!